Economists at the University of Montana predicting more job losses in the state than during the Great Recession of 2008. Coming up, the businesses that will get hit the hardest and one bright spot in the grim prediction.
And learn how Bozeman Health plans to roll out its reopening plans for procedures that were canceled because of the pandemic.
Right at 6:30 on this Wednesday, Chet Lehman, Caitlin Corbett, Matt Elwell with you here, and the first real spring day of 2020 about to hit us.
It's going to be amazing. I'm already figuring out what I'm going to do, and probably a lot of it's going to involve a nap. But I will spend some time outdoors. Temperatures into the 30s and 40s this morning. We are going to watch the clouds kind of rolling in for the afternoon. Daytime highs well into the 70s. In fact, some areas could be hitting the 80-degree mark as we head into the afternoon, but we do have some storms in store. We're going to talk more about that, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. A new report from University of Montana researchers suggests the state will face a striking economic downturn with the loss of more than 50,000 jobs.
That forecast, released by the Bureau of Business and Economic Research, analyzes how Montana will fare under what economists call a swift and severe decline because of COVID-19. PN's Dennis Bragg has the details.
The findings project Montana will suffer an average employment decline of 50,000 jobs in 2020, a 7% drop from the upbeat outlook BBER released to start the year. When we talk about that 50,000, what's that kind of look like across all of our various sectors that you guys track?
You have to be careful on how you keep scoring this stuff because that's 50,000 on average. So the economy was growing at the beginning of this year, and we think it'll be growing again at the end of this year. And in between is what we're living through right now, which is just free fall in many parts of the economy.
Most losses will impact businesses dealing accommodations and food, but the researchers say retail and all other sectors will see their share of impacts, with more than twice the job decline than after the Great Recession, especially for employment-intensive business.
Personal services, accommodations, certainly food and some retail and things like that. And clearly that mixes in with the kinds of things that we produce in the economy, which are discretionary and which, as I put it, I think they're social distancing challenged.
That drives a nearly $4 billion drop in personal income, deeply impacting tax revenues for local and state governments. The Bureau feels no region of the state will be totally exempt, with the biggest impacts in the West.
Part of those reasons are simply population and employment. Northwest loses more jobs because most jobs are, the Northwest has the highest employment total. But it also has to do with job mix. With the Northwest and Southwest having more tourist-related activity, which is expected to bear a heavier blow.
The bright spot, a possible sharp uptick this fall.
We stand a very good chance of seeing meaningful growth. I mean, not just a single percent, but double-digit growth by the end of the year. And but we're falling in a very deep hole, and we're going down right as we speak.
In Missoula, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Time now is 6:33. Bozeman Health is reopening its hospital and will begin offering elective procedures once again. Bozeman Deaconess Hospital has been closed to everything except emergencies and coronavirus cases for the past 3 weeks. President and CEO John Hills says the hospital will be taking small steps to get back to full operations, including rescheduling appointments, limiting entry points, and requiring patients to wear masks as they enter the hospital.
As we've designed our readiness and reopening plans, we've carefully considered how to move appropriately towards full operational capacity while continuing to be ready for widespread or clustered COVID-19 surges.
Hill says he hopes to have all Bozeman Health facilities fully operational by June.
Well, there are just a couple of new COVID-19 cases to report in Montana. One in Cascade County, one in Yellowstone County. Health Department reporting Gallatin County had no new active cases for the first time since the coronavirus outbreak hit. Silver Bow County with 3 active cases, Broadwater 2, Beaverhead and Madison County each have 1 active case. There are now 451 confirmed cases in Montana. 15 people have died in the state and more than 13,000 tests have been completed.
Police in Butte are investigating the death of a woman on Sunday who died after a confrontation with officers. The 44-year-old woman died at St. James Healthcare after she was shot with a taser by police as they were making an arrest that morning in an apartment on South Jackson Street. Police say the woman was highly agitated, breaking windows and armed with a knife when officers arrived. She moved toward an officer while she was holding that knife and was subdued with the taser. She died about 2 hours later at the hospital.
Her behavior was consistent with somebody who's potentially using methamphetamine, but I can't confirm that now, so we'll wait for the toxicology, and that way we'll have the full picture before we move on in the investigation.
And the Montana Department of Criminal Investigation is assisting in this case.
Elsewhere in the Treasure State, 2 days, 2 separate shootings, and 2 deaths in Billings. So authorities say the 2 shootings do not appear to be connected, however. According to police, 24-year-old Brett Ness died Monday night from a single gunshot wound to the head. Police say Ness was found in the driveway of a home on Florin Lane near Central Park. Police say they believe there was some kind of disturbance prior to the shooting, which detectives believe was not a random act of violence. An 18-year-old Ray Shaw blacksmith of Lodgegrass had been arrested and booked into the Yellowstone County Jail for obstruction of justice in relation to the homicide, but police tell us officers are still looking for more suspects. And just before noon yesterday, authorities identified a 50-year-old man shot in downtown Billings on Sunday night. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney says Micah Myron died from a single gunshot wound to the chest. It happened just before 10 p.m. in the front yard of a home in the 100 block of South 31st Street. Myron died at the hospital. No suspects in that one have been identified.
Back here in Gallatin County, Justice Court will start holding public hearings again on Monday, May 4th. Public court proceedings have not been held since March 14th after the court had to temporarily close because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Starting on Monday, Justice Court will resume, but to follow safety procedures and social distancing, the court is asking people to sign up online or call to schedule a hearing.
So we're trying to schedule everyone as best we possibly can to help with the 10-person maximum crowd limit at the moment, as well as try to not waste people's time. We all know that time's important to everyone, and we want to make sure that, first of all, we have a place for you, and that you're also, comfortable coming into our facility and coming to court.
And a reminder, open court is for anyone with mandatory appearances for a misdemeanor offense from a Gallatin County agency or other citations where people would like to see the judge. And if you would like more information, you can visit our website.
Also, dog owners can now head back to the park. The dog park at the Gallatin Regional Park reopened on Friday after being closed since the end of March. The trails around Gallatin Regional Park are still open, but the Dinosaur Playground remains closed. Gallatin County asks everyone to continue social distancing while at the dog park and avoid the area if it's too crowded. Gallatin County and volunteers with Run Dog Run worked on park maintenance and cleanup during the weeks that it was closed.
And as we start to open up businesses in Montana, our Nick Petriccioni sat down with one Bozeman woman who is on the front lines working to keep businesses and their employees safe.
Every week, Montana State University senior Virginia Beinecke suits up in her personal protective gear and heads from Bozeman to Billings to work as a coronavirus screener. And her job couldn't be more vital as Montana begins to open up.
Anyone who is still having to go to work right now, we want to protect their workplaces, and so we want to prevent anyone who might possibly be sick from going into the workplace and infecting their coworkers.
Along with being a student at MSU who graduates in December, Virginia is an incredible athlete. She qualified to run in the World Triathlon Grand Finals in Edmonton, Canada in August. On top of all that, she's also a certified EMT, and she felt a responsibility to help out on the front lines.
I kind of did feel like I have a little bit of an obligation just because I have this skill set that I could use, and it could help out other people, and people need help right now. If the roles were reversed, I'd love for someone to help me out.
As we begin to open up, Beinecke knows this pandemic is far from over and offers some advice to Montanans going back to work.
If you think you're sick, just don't even try it. It's not worth the cases spiking again and us having to shut down again. We're trying to slowly reopen things and improve. So if it doesn't feel like you should be doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
In Bozeman, Nick Petriccioni, MTN News.
Well, some good advice there from her, and we thank her for her efforts in these crazy times.
Yes, not an easy thing to do. The time now is 6:40. We're going to take a break, but up next on Montana This Morning, with Medicare offices closed, some seniors are having a little bit trouble getting the tests they need. Coming up, where to call to get help for yourself or a loved one. But first, here's a look at what's coming up next on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, what does President Trump's executive order keeping meat plants open mean for the safety of the workers? Plus, in our financial fallout series, with millions of Americans out of work, there's concern many could be forced from their homes. Also, as we continue to look at the new normal, what impact will the coronavirus have on this year's presidential election? And this is World Autism Month. See how the pandemic is highlighting the strength of autistic people in the workforce. All coming up when we see you at 7.